Well, good morning, and I'm very glad to be here on this Sunday, which is part of our celebration of Pride Month. And I'm here to share some personal information and some other information that I hope you will take to heart. My very personal love story celebrating Pride Month 2026 begins somewhere around 1952. But I digress for a few moments. 1969, two major events. Stonewall Inn uprising, June 28, first landing on the moon, July 20th. One I knew all about. In fact, watched it happen. And one I did not know one doggone thing about. Stonewall in New York City, June 28. What's the story? In 1969, the solicitation of homosexual relations was an illegal act in New York City, virtually all urban centers. City bars were places of refuge where gay men and lesbians and other individuals who were considered sexually suspect could socialize in relative safety from public harassment. Many of those bars were, however, subject to regular police harassment. One such well-known gathering place for young gays, lesbians, and trans people was Stonewall Inn in Greenwich Village, a dark, seedy, crowded bar reportedly operating without a liquor license. To circumvent liquor license laws, the Stonewall Inn operated under the guise of a private bottle club, a practice not unusual for New York's gay bars at the time. Unlike public bars, private clubs did not require a liquor license, and they were not as easily entered into or raided by the police. To maintain the illusion of a club's exclusivity, Stonewall required patrons to sign their names in a book upon entry, therefore indicating their membership. Since the days of Prohibition, when alcohol was outlawed, the mafia controlled much of New York City's nightclub business, with special expertise in its shadowy, illegal fringes. The Genovese family, one of the so-called five families that dominated crime in New York City, reigned over Manhattan's West Side bar scene, including the village where the LGBT community was taking root. A member of the Genovese family, Tony Loria, aka Fat Tony, purchased the Stonewall Inn in 1966 and transformed it from a bar and restaurant that attracted straight clientele into a gay bar and nightclub. Run on the cheap, Stonewall was known for being both dirty and dangerous. It operated without running water behind the bar. Glasses were cleaned by being dunked in tubs of dirty water, and toilets regularly overflowed. The club also lacked a fire or emergency exit. Despite its less than ideal conditions, Stonewall quickly became a popular destination in the gay community, even something of an institution. It was the only place gay people could dance openly close together and for relatively little money. Drag queens who received very negative reception at other bars, runaways, homeless LGBT youths, and others could be off the streets as long as the bar was open. To operate its gay bars, the mafia greased the palms of New York Police Department. Fat Tony paid New York's 6th Precinct approximately $1,200 a month for turning a blind eye to the indecent conduct occurring behind closed doors. Not that the police didn't still raid the LGBT establishments, but first they would tip off the owners who told them the best time to come by. Raids often occurred in the early afternoon when few customers were present, so businesses had enough time to resume normal operations by night. In the early morning hours of Saturday, June 28, 1969, 9 police officers, evidently the police had not been paid off that week, entered the Stonewall Inn, arrested employees for selling alcohol without a license, roughed up many of the patrons, cleared the bar, and, in accordance with the New York criminal statute that authorized the arrest of anyone not wearing at least 3 articles of gender-appropriate clothing, took several people into custody. It was the third such raid in Greenwich Village of gay bars in a very short period of time. This time, the people milling outside the bar did not retreat or scatter as they most always had done in the past. Their anger was apparent and vocal as they watched bar patrons being forced into a police van. They began to jeer at and jostle the police, and then threw bottles and other debris. Accustomed to a more passive behavior, even from larger gay groups, the policemen called for reinforcements, barricaded themselves in the bar, while some 400 people rebelled. The police barricade was repeatedly breached, and the bar was set on fire. Police reinforcements arrived in time to extinguish the flames, and they eventually dispersed the crowd. The rebellion outside Stonewall Inn waxed and waned for 5 days. The bar was pretty well destroyed. Many historians have characterized the uprising as a spontaneous protest against perpetual police harassment and social discrimination suffered by a variety of sexual minorities in the 60s. Although there have been other protests by gay groups, the Stonewall incident was perhaps the first time lesbians, gays, and trans people saw value in uniting behind a common cause. Occurring as it did in the context of civil rights and feminist movements, the Stonewall Rebellion, also termed riots, although I find it rather pejorative, became a galvanizing force. Stonewall soon became a symbol of resistance of social and political discrimination that would inspire solidarity among homosexual groups for decades. Although the Stonewall Rebellion, riots, cannot be said to have initiated the gay rights movement, as such, it did serve as a catalyst for a new generation of political activism. Acceptance and respect from the establishment were no longer being humbly requested, but angrily and righteously demanded. The event sparked the formation of scores of gay rights organizations. In 1999, the U.S. National Park Service placed the Stonewall Inn on the National Register of Historic Places. And in 2016, President Barack Obama designated the site of the Stonewall Uprising a national monument. In 2019, shortly before the 50th anniversary of the rebellion, New York City Police Commissioner James P. O'Neill issued an apology on behalf of the police department, saying the actions taken by the New York Police Department were wrong, plain, and simple. Love wins. During Pride 2026, we have LGBTQAI political victories to celebrate. Thanks be to God that there have been victories over the last 57 years, hard-fought, significant, and far-reaching, and they still go on. Again, love wins. A very personal love story. I did say that at the beginning of my sermon, that it begins in 1952. So here it goes. I suppose you might say that George Scott MacDonald, Mac, who I met in 1952 at age 12, was my first love. I met him in Sunday school at St. Stephen's Episcopal Church in Edina, Minnesota. We became close friends. Little did I know that he would come out as gay in the years to come. We stayed connected through our high school and college years. He moved to New York City to be a model and actor. I married my high school sweetheart, Harry Smith, in 1962. We had a daughter in 1971. And while living in Albany, New York, I went to New York City in 1976 to see Mac for what I did not know would be the last time. So Mac and I met, and we went to a bar. And we were having a tremendously good time dancing, right? And while we were dancing, he says, "Oh, by the way, I'm gay." And I kept dancing and said, "So?" You've been my friend. You've been the love of my life for a long time. He would die of AIDS in the early 90s. And when later the AIDS quilt came to Bozeman in the early 2000s, I would ask for his individual quilt piece to be among the many displayed at the field house at MSU. Precious, loving memories touched my mind and heart as I stared at his 3x6 quilt piece laying on the floor among so many. I think about him often. He was very special. My family and I moved to Bozeman in 1981. In the years to follow, I would divorce and marry again, Vern Klingensmith, in 1990. And after almost 20 years of being together, he died of pulmonary fibrosis in 2029. All told, I had spent 47 years of being married to two men. Somewhere in the 70s, my close friend Betsy Flayton in Minneapolis discovered that her brother John was gay. And Betsy was the kind of person that if she didn't understand something, she would do tremendous research. And I walked with her. I walked with her and read and discussed and wondered about what gay was all about. It was a good part of my journey. And thanks to Bets, I came to understand that these precious people were people like me. They just loved somebody maybe I wouldn't at that time. Well, in Bozeman, we took our laundry to the Main Street Laundry down across from the high school. Does anybody remember that? And a person by the name Alice ran the laundry. And over time, as I became close to Alice, Alice became Al. And in talking with Alice Al, I learned that in the struggle they had becoming the person they knew they were, Al had attempted suicide 5 times. Great learning. Part of my love story. And I'm grateful to Al. I don't know what's happened to Al, But Al went on to talk to church groups about what it was in his life that not forced him and brought him to a place of real. Edie Windsor and partner Thea Spire were together for 44 years. They married after 40 years of being together in Toronto in 2007. Upon Thea's death in 2009, Edie faced a huge tax liability of over $300,000 due to the fact that the federal government refused to recognize their marriage and its corresponding financial benefits. Edie filed the landmark lawsuit United States versus Windsor that ultimately struck down DOMA, Defense of Marriage Act, in 2013. Why does she matter to me? Because in 2012, I happened to be on a lesbian cruise, and Edie was there. And she was about this tall, and she came out and she said, I am not the only person that stands before you and is fighting this matter, but thank you for honoring me. And boy, I will tell you, Connie and I made it our business to spend some time with her because we stand on those shoulders, as little as they were. Gallatin County Detention Center and the inmates who I have loved serving 21 years, upon a number of occasions meeting gays, lesbians, and trans, and my message to them, there's nothing wrong with you. You are a child of God. You are beloved. Reverend Roxy, my church has cast me out, is disappointed in me, doesn't accept me. Do you have any idea how wonderful it is to tell somebody that they are okay? And several of them keep in touch with me, and I think they're doing okay. My thanks to so many LGBTQ AI or IA plus, I get all those mixed up, but friends who have touched my life over my 85 years. Oh, the wonderful power of relationship. It's known to be transformational, and it certainly has been. So where am I now? Well, in 2001, I met somebody pretty incredible by the name of Connie Campbell. She came to work at the Community Mediation Center. I happened to be the board of directors president, therefore I was a supervisor. And somewhere around as we traveled our time together, and I came to respect her talents and gifts and work with her. In 2009, both of us lost somebody that we cared about. And somehow that loss brought us together. And I have to be honest and say, Connie did a heck of a job chasing me. And I'm going like, huh? What? What's going on? It was a real struggle because, boy, was she smart. Boy, was she competent. Wow, was she a fabulous person. So I had a good friend here by the name of Lois Van Leer. I made an appointment. And I came to see Lois. Now I have to tell you that one of my concerns was that I was fairly well known in the community. So what would happen if this all came out? And I was involved in a very serious project at that time. And I was worried that they would say, out of here, we don't want you working on this project. But I thought, well, Lois is wise. She's somebody I highly respect. And so here's what she said. Roxy, wouldn't it be lovely if we could love the people we love and societal norms would not say we could not? She referred to the Kinsey report. You know anything about that, Roxy? Well, I'll tell you what. Most of us aren't here or there. We're somewhere on the spectrum. Ooh, that was a relief. And she allayed my fears. What she imparted to me that day we met has come to be true. The love of my life, an incredible person by the name of Connie Campbell Pearson, yes, as Lois would say, love just is and always wins. And I'm living proof of this. I am Roxy, who's married to Connie. Please refrain from pinning a label on me. Why do we put labels on people? It's a really nice tool to exclude, isn't it? It's a really nice tool to divide. And I'm not saying anything about against people in these positions taking a route of fighting for what is right. I'm just saying, huh? Why do we do that? And again, what did Lois tell me? Nice to fall in love with somebody who society might say, huh? But you do it anyway. My very personal love story goes on. I've been honored this morning to share my story with this very loving fellowship this morning. And my great thanks to so many of you who have stood by me for many years, loved me as my story has unfolded, and continue to call me by my name, Roxy. Amen.